Yeah, one player that Villa do not want to lose, and I don't want to lose at all, would be Morgan Rogers. And when I saw that there was something yesterday about him potentially being high on Arsenal's list, is he pretty sound at Villa this summer?
Well, it feels like he's untouchable simply because Aston Villa may have a list of players they would begrudgingly or reluctantly sell, but Morgan Rogers isn't going to be anywhere near the top of that list. So it'll really just be a clue as and when suitors decide to be opportunistic around Morgan Rogers as to how perilous Aston Villa's PSR position is. And not getting Champions League football naturally makes the numbers a little bit tighter. And we had this with Newcastle 12 months ago, where some leading into the so called PSR deadline or the end of the financial year said that Newcastle only needed to find 10, 15, 20 million. Other financial experts thought it was more. And in the end, we actually found that Newcastle needed to sell Elliot Anderson and Yakuba Minter to stop them having to give Anthony Gordon to Newcastle United to the tune of 70, 80 million pounds. So it's really quite difficult to predict. And if Villa are in a situation where even with the John Duran money, they need a big sale, then suitors like Arsenal and Chelsea are going to be opportunistic to the Morgan Rogers possibility. But right now, Villa know their own numbers. And I hear from sources that Morgan Rogers is basically not for sale, barring an astronomical offer. And this is why I think we've had no advancements, because most in the industry are still waiting a little bit longer until maybe Villa have to sweat a little bit as they close the financial year. And then don't be surprised if we see a bid, because you're not going to share Villa's finances with another suitor. So if you've got an Arsenal or a Chelsea who are genuinely interested, they are going to at least test the resolve to see how desperately Villa might need a big sale. But there will be other options. We've mentioned Emi Martinez. It doesn't look like they're going to do the Rashford deal, who wants Barcelona, and that's keeping a big potential wage off the books, even though Villa fans might quite like Rashford to come back. Marco Asensio, they'd like to buy, and that kind of fee is a little bit lower, but his wages are quite high, and we have to understand whether he wants Champions League football and has opportunities elsewhere. There's Saudi interest, as I've reported before, in Yuri Tielemans, probably another player that Aston Villa fans and Aston Villa hierarchy won't want to lose. There's Ollie Watkins, who Arsenal have looked at before. Challenge there is not so much could you agree a fee and might it suit all parties. It's more, once you've got that fee, you've got to be able to reinvest it on a striker that's better than Ollie Watkins. And